Welcome back to my rock shop. I'm Matthew DeGraff and Reed with Marble Gems. Today I'm going to show you a little device I made for polishing marbles. And so let's take a look at this little machine I made. I actually made two of them, and they're made with really simple parts, and so basically anybody could make them if you got a little bit of ingenuity, and they'd be good for polishing glass marbles or stone marbles. They'd be good for like resurfacing old antique marbles that had pits in them. So let me show you that. So this is the little machine. Basically what this is two small gear motors. Here's a gear motor and here's a gear motor. I've mounted them to an old butcher board I found at a second-hand store. I used some just basically little small hinges, an aluminum plate, and some springs, a spring on each side to pull it this way. Okay, and these are 12-volt motors, and so it required a small transformer. And I also mounted a little switch here to turn them off and on with. And I made everything nice and tight with all the wire. This right here is, I used a toothbrush on a hinge, and what it does is it pushes up on the marble from beneath the marble. And I was having problems with the marble spinning evenly. And this was an idea I came up with that kind of helped. So it's kind of primitive. I've got two of them. This is the second one. One of them has faster gear motors, but essentially you can find these gear motors for 10, 12 bucks on Amazon. So let me take a minute and we'll get it started. So let me show you the cup here. This little cup is a PVC fitting, and it screws into this fitting here, and on the shaft of the little gear motor I've put a little plug here that had a hole drilled through it, and with a screw right there, that's the set screw. And then that was the way that I mounted this little plug. It's an 1/8 inch plug that goes to an 1/8 inch to 1/2 inch bell, and then I can change in and out the different grit cups. And it's mainly for polishing, it's not really for grinding. So to get this set up, one of the things I have here is I have a little chain that I made, like a key chain or something like that, I can't remember. And it brings water from the cup up to here. I've got an old glass marble that I've put in here just to demonstrate with. I'm going to show you some other agate marbles and such. So as you can see, it spins around in there. This chain is bringing a little bit of water up into here. I need to improve this actually. I don't like the chain so much because the chain can actually slip over and go on the marble. But I want to just get a regular drip system that has a dish that catches it with a little hose, so it drips down in the bucket, and then I just refill a jug full of water and it'll drip down into here. So as you can see, it moves that marble. The marble's not spinning all the time, it's getting ground, and one spins one way and one spins the other way. And it's really simple when you have a DC motor, because all you have to do is when you switch on the power that goes to those, is just switch the negative and the positive, and you can get one to spin one way and one to spin another way, and they work best when they're spinning opposite directions versus the same direction relative to the marble. So essentially they're both spinning counterclockwise right now, but if one was spinning counterclockwise and one was spinning clockwise, it wouldn't polish. You can see that it's getting kind of milky right in there, that the water that's in there, and that's the glass grinding. So it's grinding and polishing it. let me think here. I've got several different grits and I've written them on there. So these are green, and the green ones are 800 grit. I've got these ones here, and they're yellow, and they're 3000 grit. These cups here, I think these cups are 50 grit. Yeah, I can see the big diamonds in there. So these are pretty coarse. I need to remake these because they're too big of a cup. I need to make them smaller. You can see how much smaller I like to make these 3000 grit compared to these right here. This is too big of a cup, and so I don't like it as much as these ones right here. These ones actually work better. But I just glued those in there with epoxy. So let me show you how easy it is to change these. So these right now are 200 grit. If I want to change them out, change this one out, it's pretty simple. And put in the other 800 grit. Here we go, yep, it's the green one. And screw it in there. Don't make it too tight or else it makes it hard to get off. And I'm going to show you this marble right here. This is an agate marble. It hasn't been polished, and it's got a little void bug, as that's what you call it, on agate. And so I never really polished it. It's a pretty marble. It's got really nice chevrons in it. Kind of a clamshell look is what I call it. But we're going to work on that with, I'll just show you with the 800 grit. So I like to put it in some water first and then mount it in there. Make sure that this is put on there is in the water. And I'll show you how this thing works too in just a second. So see how it spins there? If I put a little pressure on it, so it spins too much. That means one side is grinding it too much. If I put a little bit of pressure on it like this, it tends to spin it nicely, and it's polishing it instead of just spinning it against one. So what I did is I made this little, I just took an old toothbrush, cut it down, drilled a hole in it, put a spring on it, and mounted it there. I'm going to drip some water on there. There we go. And you can, I'll show you the difference. So that little toothbrush is putting a little bit of pressure on there, just enough. It's just ever so slightly. See, there's with the toothbrush with a little pressure. There's without the pressure. So, oh, and see, the chain slipped off of there and went down on there. So that's the one thing I don't like about this chain. If I could get a different chain that rode on there differently, it might work better. But really, I just need to get a drip system and drip it down on there. But I'm trying to remember what RPMs this was. Oh, these ones are 300 RPMs motors on this one right here. I think this other one I got slower ones. They were like 100 and, I think they were 110 RPMs for these other ones. I don't see it on there. It's not printed on the housing like this one is. I think that they were right around 100. Oh, see, it slipped down again. So that's a little bit of a problem. When the chain was brand new, it didn't seem to have that problem, but as it got older and rusty, it tends to climb up the little shoulder right here. So that works pretty good. So this is a 3/4 inch marble, and this is like a 15/16 marble, this glass marble. Well, here's something that is helpful. I just took an old piece of wood and drilled a bunch of 1/2 inch holes in it, and I can set my marbles in there to, as I work on lots of marbles. And I've got a bunch of 5/8 agates, white agate marbles I need to polish up, and let's see how those work. This is a 5/8 marble. This is for a marble game that David Gibson invented. So let's see how these little 5/8, I'll show you how these 5/8 marbles do in here. They may be too small. I can't remember if I've done these before. I'm going to take this thing off because this is going to be in the way. Yeah, that works nicely. And I'll get my spray bottle. And I'll just spray it. Put a little moisture on there. And then just spray it every minute or so. That's why I need to have a dripper on there that just drips water on there. I can just walk away from it, and then I can work over at the grinder and grind away, and then spin the marble and rough it out, and so everything, you know, it won't be shiny. And then I can just take and put it in here and do 5 or 6 marbles on 200 grit and then change it out. Anyways, I think I'm going to get more grits up to about 10,000 and see how that works. But the reason I made it is I wanted to find a inexpensive, cheap way to polish marbles. But I know that there's guys out there that love to collect glass marbles. They like the vintage marbles. But then they'll get a marble that has a bunch of little moons in it, and they want to polish it up, so like an onion skin marble. Well, this little device would do it, because with the onion skin and glass, you could take and get a 50 grit and 100 grit, 200 grit, 400, 800, and then from 800 I'd jump up to say 1600 or 3000. And then all the way up to say 10,000. And with these removable cups, you could have a bunch of old onion skin marbles or old Peltier marbles or something, and start with 50 grit and run the 50 grit for an hour or so until the marble got all of the little moons out of it, and then once you had all the moons out of it, then you could take and really polish it up well. And I know that there's marble collectors out there. And this would be an inexpensive thing. I think I've got about 50 bucks into this. So I'm going to spray it again, get some moisture on it. So I've got my 3rd marble in there. And we're about ready to change to the 800 grit. So let's change from the 200 grit to the 800 grit. And then we'll run these 3 marbles through those. Okay, we'll let that run for a while and we'll come back. Okay, I've run through the marbles through the 800 grit. Now I'm ready to change it over and put the 3000 grit on. Marble in there, spray a little bit of water on it, turn it on. Now you'll notice I have this angled down. The reason why I do that is simply so the water will drip down on this and won't run back into the motors. And it holds it in there just fine. It works really good. So I'm working on the last marble out of those 3 marbles here. As soon as that's done, I'll show you the difference in between rough, unfinished marble and one of these that run through here. Okay, I've finished running these 3 marbles here on the left through 3 different grits, the 200, the 800, and the 3000. As you can see, they're a little bit, they're glossier, and you know, it's hard to tell close up, but you can see that these ones are duller. They don't have the shine and sparkle on it like this one does, and this one you can see it's reflecting very well in the light. This one's reflecting well in the light. So one of the things I've decided I need to do is I need to get some higher grit, some 6,000 and 10,000 grit polishing pads, and make some new cups. That would really get a shine on there that would be really glossy. But other than that, I'm really happy with the little machine that I made. It didn't cost very much. I think, like I said before, it was about 50 bucks. So thanks again for joining me in my rock shop. I hope you enjoyed that demonstration of that little marble polisher that I made. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below and I'll do my best to answer them. Ask any of the questions that you'd like about how I put this together. I may decide here in the future to make another one that has a faster motors, maybe 600 RPMs. And if I do that, I'll show you step by step how I make it. But for now, I'm going to make some cups for this one and make a little drip system to improve it and make some improvements on it before I go to a higher speed motor. So thanks again for watching. Have a good day. Bye.